or how do you plan to get that?
That's premature. I don't even know if we have an aircraft or spacecraft that'll be using methane yet. With that, when we decide or when we're looking at an aircraft or spacecraft to use that, we will certainly put forward an environmental impact study, and those issues will be addressed at that time with the FAA, with this agency, as well as others. I just can't tell you that. That's speculation at this point.
Okay.
I don't know.
And I know it's in the Clark County side of our basin, but can you give us a little better idea exactly where it is?
Yeah, it's literally right across the highway from the Yellow Pine Solar Project. When you're driving towards Las Vegas, we have a green shipping container in the front by the driveway. Probably have seen it when you drive by. That's going to be a front gate when we're done. That'll be built into a security guard shack when we're ready.
Okay. And you talked about a hotel. Obviously, if you have a hotel, that's going to be a lot of water. Do you have any ideas of what kind of proposal as far as, how many rooms you might have?
Again, that's premature. I know we've tried to build a little, we've tried to put a little pond out there, and we hit caliche 3 feet down and broke a backhoe. So it's pretty solid out there. So right now, the land where we're going to build the runway is about a 1% grade. So there's not a whole lot of earth moving that we're going to have to do to level the landing site, which is it's going to be a 5,000-foot runway by about 100 feet wide. So
2 miles or a mile.
And so we obviously have that wash that goes through the property. We're not allowed to disturb the water at all. That's part of the drainage study, how much water is going to come off the runway and affect the drainage wash. So we don't know how much water yet. I can't tell you. When we're ready to put forward a proposal for the hotel, we'll come back to you and we'll give you those numbers.
Okay, so you don't know how many employees you'll have on site either to begin with?
Well, we're going to have 2 security guards at the front. We're going to have some staff to monitor the facility. There'll be an FBO there, a private jet terminal. There'll be a few people there working. So, our own staff, I expect to have about 20 people on approximately.
So nada. And
But we plan to have companies there with people working and developing these technologies. So we do expect to have hopefully hundreds of people there working and developing these technologies over the years.
okay, and then you plan to drill a well on your
We
property?
have a well there right now.
You do?
Yes, sir.
And you have water rights on that well?
We have some. We're going to have to probably acquire more to be able to expand what we're planning to do there.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other board member have questions? I do, Mr. Lauer. You made the statement to Mr. Holden that when he asked you about the hotel, and you said we're not in that phase. Your presentation showed the hotel. To ask you in that phase. And so I'd like to know, you have what, about 30 hangars?
30 hangars are planned, yes.
30 hangars, thank you. And how much water is going to be utilized with those hangars? That's washing the planes and so forth. And what's the protection? Is there an automatic shut-off on the system? Because I've seen many times before where when people are washing the planes, they just throw the hose down and the water's running.
Well, again, we haven't submitted those plans to the county, to Clark County, for their review and requirements. But obviously, we don't want to waste water, and we're going to do whatever it takes. And frankly, we're actually exploring new technologies, and we will be exploring new technologies when it comes to water. So, for example, there are technologies out there that use solar to extract water from the air. We plan to explore all those kinds of advanced technologies that would minimize the water that we use. We have a lot of sun out there. So using solar to extract water to, to deal with people washing their hands in toilets in a hangar with a few people seems to make sense if it can work. And I'm open, and I really want to, and I've talked to the governor's office about using our facility as a place to experiment with those technologies, with water extraction from air and other ways, and recycling and so forth. So yes, water is important, and we're not going to waste it.
And what about fire protection? What are you going to have available? It's going to be water, I would presume. Some water.
Yes, we're going to have to. The county's going to require us to have some water. Depends on the use, but of course, like the private jet terminal will have to have sprinklers inside to protect against fire.
Thank you. Does any other board member have questions or comments?
I have one further question. Are you surrounded by BLM land?
Yes, sir.
So you're basically limited to that footprint unless BLM will sell you some more land at a later date.
We have 10 million square feet. We're pretty comfortable with what we have. For now, we're pretty comfortable.
Okay,
In
thank you.
fact, I like the site there, and I am actually been actively working against any future development around that site. I'm against any more solar projects in that area that may impact our ability to operate. We're actually bringing a lawsuit against one of the solar companies that is putting up a 250-foot power line along the highway, which may impact our runway. So I don't want more development out there because I want to be able to fly experimental aircraft and operate air races out there and fly around and not have to have people moving in around us to impact it. So I want to keep it the way it is.
Speaking of the air races, if I may, you raised the question. I'm totally aware of the Reno air races and the problems that were created. I lived on the other side of 395, and I couldn't get home when the air races were on. The highway was blocked by traffic coming and going. We can't afford that here in Nye County for 160 to be blocked between here and Vegas. That's our international flying. That's our connection with the rest of the world. And I don't want to see, how are you going to deal with the traffic during the air races?
It's a great question. First of all, I definitely think your community is going to benefit tremendously. I think your hotels are going to be full of people paying money to stay here because it's close. We also plan to have buses from the hotels because we're not going to have that much room for parking. So we're going to have buses bringing people from hotels to our site to reduce that number of traffic impact. And by the way, Reno air races, I've studied them and have learned a lot about how they did things and how they did things wrong, and we plan to do things a completely different way than they've operated, completely different.
So at a normal air race, I've never been to one, but how many just people show up to them?
We plan to have a smaller footprint. They had about 100,000 people over 4 days on average. We plan to be probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it's not going to be a whole week. And so we plan to have probably about 20,000 people on average on a 3-day week, 3 days. But again, we're working with a bus company in Vegas to bring people by bus and reduce the number of people that can come in by car because we don't have the room out there for that much parking. So.
Any further questions by anyone? I'd like to open this for public comment, if I may. Thank you, sir, if you take a seat. Is there anybody in public comment would like to come forward, please? Is there anyone in Tonopah?
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And ma'am, go ahead.
Karen Waldman, WALDMAN. Your point about traffic is phenomenal. We do not have a functioning hospital here, and our ambulances are running regular routes 3 to 5 times a day, I believe, going back and forth to the Vegas hospitals. And any traffic that would come in would need to take that into consideration because people's lives would be at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, step forward. Please give your last name and spell it.
Teresa without the H, Nailway, Naleway. One of my concerns is, yes, maybe the population will grow, but we do not have any type of infrastructure. I mean, how many casinos do we have here? How many fireworks warehouses do we have? And how many smoke vape shops do we have? We don't have theaters. We don't have a good civic center for entertainment. We barely have restaurants that can house more than 20 people at a time. And I want to know why Clark County isn't looking to put this on the other side of Vegas versus close to us, Pahrump, where we don't have any type of real infrastructure.
Thank you. Go ahead and step forward, sir. Give your name and spell the last.
Doug Blackstock, Blackstock. That was one of my questions too, is why not locate someplace close to Nellis or someplace else? But going with the assumption it's going to go in this location, strictly dealing with the water and the sewage, are you going to have a reservoir on site to accommodate future activities? Are you going to be looking at gray water to separate that and have a small filtration plant, possibly to make that water potable if possible? And I have to go back to the hotel again. Obviously, there's got to be some long-term plans here to do that, and I'll go back to how much gray water and how much sewage you're going to have and how that sewage is related to long-term, because that's got to go right back in the ground again. So I'm just dealing with the logistics of the water and the sewage. We need not to waste it and also use what we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So give your name and spell the last.
My name's Nebel, Nebel, and I think it'd be a great addition to our county if it's engineered properly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no further public comment, I will close public comment and please step forward. You can answer some of the questions raised quickly.
So to your question about ambulances,
So could you face the microphone?
to the issue about ambulances, at the air races, we will have air ambulance available to medevac people out if there's an issue, heart attack, medical emergencies, and we can certainly provide that to Nye County during those races to provide a medevac helicopter in case of emergency here. So we will be operating our own helicopters extensively at the site, and we'll provide that to the county as well in case of emergency.
One of the questions I'd like to have you answer, when you do the races, what will be the flight pattern for the race? Will it affect any of the traffic on the highway, or will it be flying over our community?
No. If you have a map, I'm happy to show you the route that we're projecting to fly, but we can't fly over any highways. We're going to be flying, from the highway to the site is 1.25 miles. We'll be flying through that corridor. We won't be flying over the highway at all, if that makes any sense.
I'm sure at a future date we'll be able to be more elaborative on the route.
Yes, thank you.
Again, you're 10 miles away, you're not going to even hear the aircraft flying. We're going to be flying within, the route's probably about 2 miles by 2 miles by 2 miles. So you're 8 miles away from even the tip of the edge of the track. So it's all going to be over the desert. There's no homes. We can't fly over homes during the races. And by the way, our planes, we own already 2 fighter jets. We're going to be buying the rest. We're going to be using only our aircraft. There's not going to be a bunch of amateurs like in Reno come in to fly. They're amateur planes and amateur pilots. Our planes, we own. We own the planes. We maintain the planes. And we have the best fighter pilots in the world that will fly those planes, trained on our systems with advanced systems. Specifically, for example, they'll all be flying in simulators before they even go on the flight on the racetrack. So we're taking a whole different approach. We want to make sure it's the safest sport around. We don't want accidents. We've studied all the accidents at Reno, and we have identified why there are accidents. And one of the reasons was, frankly, it was an amateur Wild West attitude, and it was a lackadaisical attitude towards safety. My attitude is there's no room for any accidents. There's no room for errors. And so the planes are maintained by us, owned by us, and the pilots are hired by us. That means we vertically integrate all the safety systems ourselves and monitor it ourselves. And we brought on a safety council of fighter pilots, of FAA experts. We have an air boss that's been doing it for 30 years. We have the best consultants in the country to make sure we can do this safely and professionally.
So actually, this is a show, a display, not a contest.
Well, it will be a race. It will be a contest. It will be a race in the future, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lauer, thank you for your presentation.
Mr. Locke?
Yeah, just one last thing. I mean, we're not the planning department, and you're in a different county, and so I do appreciate you coming here and, speaking to us. As a water board, the only thing I'm concerned slightly about would be using any, you said you want to bring in a lot of people that are going to test things and try out new things. The test site wasn't really a very good steward to Nevada regarding water. They left a lot of tainted water that will never be able to be used. So, I would want this board to pay attention to whatever new products you guys might be trying to use or do, or fuels or anything like that, because that water that's down there, we may be drawing from down there sometime in the future. So that's my concern, is just whatever types of, we got tritium sitting on 1 trillion gallons of water, and that wasn't really a good job by the test site.
I think what I was referring to as far as experimentation and trials was water technology that can extract water from the air. There's there's lots of water in the air, and there's technologies that can extract that water from the air and use it for washing planes and other things that we don't have to use the water that's in the ground. So that's what I'm talking about, experimenting with those kinds of technologies that can recycle water, can extend the water. And by the way, water is critical in space. So experimenting with water technologies is critical to space operations as well. So the ability to recycle water and reuse it, I think that's critical to sustainability. And so that's going to be our focus.
No, and I appreciate that. And again, I'm not going to comment anything on the business or what you're building or how you're doing it, because that's all up to you guys. Like I said, my only concern is that, you're obviously a technology site. So technology means trying new things. The latest technology right now that everybody's leaning into is doing these mini nuclear power plants that, give you 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts. You stick them in the ground, they're supposed to never come out. They just sit there in 36 inches of concrete until they don't work anymore. And they're probably really good. But if they don't work or something does happen, we could be sitting with water. And so if it's technology that's new, that's when I would be concerned, is with something such as that. But otherwise, have at it, and I'd love to watch a rocket go in the air.
As I said before, if and when we have any specific rockets or technologies, they will have to go through, and we'll be required to go through extensive environmental impact studies, which will obviously be public, and you'll have an opportunity to review those and comment on those. So that's going to be part of the process as we go forward.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Lauer.
you so much.
Madam Vice Chair, if I might ask, could we please take item number 16 out of order so that I can release some staff to their work?
Yes, thank you. Item 16.
Item number 16 for discussion only, status report provided by the Nye County Water District Quality Assurance Contractor Kathy Gilmore on the progress of activities related to the Nye County Water District's ground level monitoring program. This item will impose no financial impact. This is just basic. I wanted the board and the public to know that Mr. Klinke's work is ongoing, that we are doing all of the necessary quality control work to make sure that we're all in compliance, so that all of the data that we're gathering can be utilized in future projects and for future generations, literally. So this is just basically for your information, to give you the confidence to know that we're going through all of the motions that we need to make sure that our data is solid. If you have any questions about what we do there or how we gather that data, Mr. Klinke is available. If I can't answer your question, he can. And that's what I have.
Any questions for Mr. Klinke? Mr. Miller, any questions on this item?
Nope.
Thank you. Any other board member have any questions on this item?
Moving on to item number 13. Thank you, Mr. Klinke. Item number 13 for discussion only. Discussion and deliberation on the 2-to-1 relinquishment ordinance for new residential subdivisions within Nevada Hydrographic Basin number 162 and what progress has been made toward the ordinance being ratified by the Board of Nye County Commissioners. This item will impose no financial impact. This is the third time we've had this before us. There has been some progress made while Mr. Holden last called for this. Mr. Locke is our most recent participant with the county, and I think that he may be able to hold this discussion and inform us of his recent discovery.
That wasn't too much of a discovery as it was a discussion. This didn't go before the Board of Commissioners the first time through because the DA didn't feel comfortable with it. He wanted to do more research. He wanted to look into a couple new Supreme Court cases that could be related to it. I had a couple discussions with him. One of them lasted well over an hour, going back and forth on what had happened in other states and things that, had been adjudicated in other areas. And I believe that this most likely would go before the board if we were to read it in again at the next meeting. So,
Mr. Locke, I don't mean to contradict you. However, the vote that was made prior by the board still stands. It was a unanimous vote, and this board does not need to reread it. We do not need to bring the ordinance back at this time. I would ask the board that we ask our liaison to bring the item back before Nye County Administration to be re-agendized for ratification before the commissioners. We do not need to reread it.
And that would be the direction of the chair.
Well, this is a discussion, and we're basically asking our liaison to basically rinse and repeat on bringing the ordinance as it was passed by the Nye County Water District back before the Nye County Commission for consideration of ratification. Now that we've gotten the go-ahead from the district attorney that he's comfortable moving forward, I don't foresee that there will be any other reason to keep it off of the agenda.
You have that from the district, you have that from the district attorney?
I do.
Okay, because the last time I asked if there was a appetite to bring it back to the board, I was told it was held up by the DA. So I'll go reinvestigate that, and if it looks clear, I have no problem putting it back on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig.
You know my feelings.
yeah, and if you don't find that to be the case, can you give me a call?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig.
Thank you. For the public, an individual that buys a piece of property to build is required to get 2 acre feet. What we're trying to do is make this where it's even across the board for residences in the community. So if you are a resident, you are going to have to do the equal thing. And we're asking that subdivision developers do the right thing and make it fair across the board. Thank you. So we'll just move forward to item 14.
Item number 14 for discussion only. Discussion and deliberation with possible direction to staff on recent water rights applications filed by the Mining Corporation P2 Gabs Inc. in Nevada Hydrographic Basin 122, totaling an amount of 5,850 acre feet. This item will impose no financial impact. So this item was brought forward at the request of Ms. Strickland, our liaison. She is not here. It was supported by our chair, who is also not here. Unfortunately, I can only speak to the backup material and to what I know, which is not a tremendous amount. This basin is over-appropriated but not over-pumped. What I can say is that this amount of water exceeds the total yield in the basin. So it's not likely that these applications will be approved, in my opinion. However, we have conjunctive management happening now. It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting experiment to see how the state engineer handles these applications. I'm still getting my groove. I'm still learning, getting my feet square, and I think everybody's waiting to see how the state engineer will apply conjunctive management. My instinct is that these applications will be denied and that P2 GABs will have to seek other sources of water, and that a new application for unappropriated water rights will be denied. We'll just have to wait and see. I wish Ms. Strickland was here because she does have a vast knowledge of water rights in this area. So maybe this item will come back before you when Mr. Goodhart will be present. And that's about all I have.
Did the town of Gabbs protest it?
I don't know that, Mr. Locke. I know that the application is still in review, and as I checked it yesterday at Division of Water Resources, it was in review. So that could be a long time. It could be a long period before it's denied, or they could deny it next week. I just don't have the experience to know that.
Doesn't Nye County oversee that water system in Gabbs?
There is a Public Works water system in Gabbs where there are approximately 450 acre-feet of water held by Nye County. Approximately 100 acre-feet of that water is being pumped for municipal use. And through discussion with Mr. Tuck, there's approximately 300 acre-feet of Nye County water available for sale or lease in Gabbs. It's been used for construction in the past. That is water that benefits us being pumped, as Division requires us to pump all water holdings that we have. So we have discussed with Mr. Tuck, and I've made some connections for him so that P2 Gabbs has his phone number, and that water can be hopefully, that may be one of the sources that they ultimately seek. But I can't secretary for P2 and you guys at the same time. So I don't really know where they're at other than what's been posted with Division of Water Resources. But to answer your question directly, only Division of Water Resources regulates water rights. The utility and the Public Works Department would regulate their own holdings, not applications or requests for holdings beyond their own.
But they would want to protest it, just so they're on file that they protested if these guys are asking for over pumpage numbers in a basin where they're a public utility.
And that's something you could direct me to do as well.
If we were going to protest this, when would be the appropriate time for us to do that?
Mr. Holden, I wish I had a complete understanding. This came to me late for agendization, so I do not have comprehensive understanding on where these apps are or where. The fact that it's open and under review kind of gives me the indication that the window is open to receive a protest. But I would be remiss to give you a false number by pulling it out of my.
Okay, but when you said discussion and deliberation, could we direct you to protest at this meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Back in September of 2022, I did an overview of the water rights held by Nye County and Nye County Board of Commissioners, and it shows that Gabbs had 361 and another, where is it, 234 for a total of 596 acre-feet. I think they're going to be held short. I think this is a very difficult situation, And I would like to see the board give the manager the authority to protest if he feels it necessary at the time.
I would like to instruct the manager to reach out to the Public Works Department and see if they would like to do it, because I think they're the ones that really should be on file protesting it. Just from the standpoint that they have 400 acre feet, and these guys are asking for more acre feet than should be pumped in the basin. So you just want to make sure that you don't let the state engineer release something that would affect your water. I mean, and eventually they'll come back to them if they needed more water and lease that other 300 acre feet, if that's what they needed.
I will consult with Mr. Tuck, and I will directly, after that consultation, I will talk to you, and I will start working on composition of a protest letter because I think it's appropriate. I certainly don't believe that Nye County is in a position to satisfy the water needs of this company. That's way outside of what they need. But they may be a proportion if it serves Nye County.
That's the purpose of the protest, to force the state engineer to do his job and make sure that he's protecting the people that are already precedent there in using water.
Staff is clear.
Good, thank you. We'll move to next item.
Do we open public?
Do you want public comment on that?
It's not necessary, but if it pleases you, we certainly can.
No, item 15.
Item number 15 for discussion only. Discussion and deliberation on the most recent progress of the Amargosa Conservancy's efforts to have approximately 308,890 acres of public lands in Nye County included in the federal mineral withdrawal area within Amargosa Valley and surrounding the Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. This item will impose no financial impact. The reason I agendized this is because I thought the map was very interesting and very shows the public the amount of area that is, this is your page 4 in your backup. That red line delineates the actual mineral withdrawal area. It's, again, I need to compliment Mr. Vole. Mason did a hell of a job. Vale, excuse me. He did a really great job. I'm completely impressed with this young man's efforts. He took it all the way to the halls of Congress, and this is the result. This area has been withdrawn from mineral withdrawal or for mineral use. The existing mines will continue their grandfathered use. However, no new mineral for the next 2 years will be able to move forward, and I suspect that this closure is ultimately going to end up being a permanent one. So I put this in for the public, and I put this in because you guys were participatory in this closure. We signed a support letter right from Jump Street, and Mason carried it. So I figured, you know, it only takes a minute to do this, but for the public's edification and for you guys for a victory lap, Ash Meadows is safe. That's a win.
This man did a superb job. Mason he's amazing.
He really did a great job. I learned some watching how he did it. I learned some things just watching his moves. So attaboy to Mason and attaboy to the Amargosa Conservancy. Ash Meadows is safe.
Absolutely, thank you.
Moving on to item number 17 for discussion only. Yep, absolutely. Excuse me. Madam Vice Chair, would you please open this item, reopen the
Yes.
item for public comment?
I'll reopen the item for public comment. Please give your name and spell the last.
Scott Williams, Williams. I work for Mason at Amargosa Conservancy. I just wanted to clarify a couple things. The protection for Ash Meadows has not been finalized, and so the 2-year period that you're talking about is for the environmental review process where the mineral withdrawal is being considered by BLM, and then if they decide to actually go through with the mineral withdrawal, then it's protected for 20 years. On that note, there is a public meeting in Amargosa Valley on February 27th at 5:30 p.m. Amargosa Conservancy is going to be holding basically a rally at 4:30 that day. So anybody who wants to come from Pahrump to support, they can show up at that.
What time is that? What time does?
Rally at 4:30, public meeting at 5:30. And I'll say that there is a chance Well, things are complicated with BLM right now. So the Ruby Mountains withdrawal public meeting did get canceled. So we're knocking on wood that we actually have that meeting. But we will be there for the rally regardless, because we did secure, at the very minimum, the 2 years of protection. So part of this process that I'm describing for 2 years is the NEPA comment process, and I wanted to ask the board a question of whether they intend on submitting a NEPA comment. This is a comment period that's open until April 15th.
We don't actually do back and forth during public comment, so please finish your comments, sir.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and I wanted to offer one more piece of information, and that is that we will be contracting a hydrological analysis as part of this process, and that we can offer, and that's going to be to update the Death Valley DV3 flow model, and we can offer that information to the board once we have that, and that'll be the next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
No relationship.
Moving on to item number 17, for discussion only, discussion and deliberation on the 2024 summary of claims offered by Schroeder Law Office, PC, on the status of any claims made against Nye County Water District in the previous calendar year. This item will impose no unbudgeted financial impact. So this is just housekeeping. This just says you haven't been sued. Tells the public we haven't been sued. We do occasionally, we get these every year. I'm going to agendize these moving forward just because we're making ground and we're getting attention, and at some point we may get sued. So every annual, these will be included in your annual. As they come to me, they're going to come out to you. Hopefully we never have to discuss anything in there, but that's the process. If you have any questions, I may be able to answer them.
Any questions from the board? I think it's very clear. Thank you.
Item number 18 for discussion only, discussion and deliberation of presentation materials used by Nevada Division of Water Resources about the ongoing Nevada Water Initiative project, which was recently held in Current, Nevada, Nye County, and the potential impacts the program has for other hydrologic basins throughout the state. This item will impose no unbudgeted financial impact. I put this back up in there for your information. I went up to Current last month to take this information in. I'll just give you a brief overview. There's a lot of heavy information in your backup. The Nevada Water Initiative is an effort by Division of Water Resources to recalculate the budgets of every basin within the state of Nevada. They did Railroad Valley and Current as the pilot test basins. The depth of data that you see in your backup is the same methodology that will be used throughout the state. I lobbied heavily with, that's probably not the right word, I pushed heavily with state engineer so that Basin 162 would be next on the list, because I think that Basin 162 is one of the more endangered basins anywhere in the state of Nevada. This is very much in line with the other work that we're doing as far as the Basin 162 model, as far as the ground level monitoring program. All of the data that we're already doing fits in like a glove with what the state of Nevada Water Initiative is doing. What that means is that we're more attractive for the next pick. And it also means that we've already done some of the heavy lifting. Mr. Klinke's data is mergeable with DRI's because we worked with DRI on the model, so they match. All of our ground level monitoring was established through the same methodology that Division uses. So our 21-year ground level monitoring data set meshes right into when they get to us. Whether we're next or not, I don't know. I just wanted you guys to know that this is what it looks like when it's done. What will this do? This will give us clarity on our yield. Is our yield 12? Is it 20? Is it 24? Right now, we don't know. When this work is done, we will have brass tacks on the yield in Basin 162. That will be the final word on it. This is a big move for Pahrump, and it will dictate how we move forward with the master plan, how we move forward with everything, because that number, the yield of the basin, is the basis for the budget. And until you know what that number is, you really can't do good math. You can't do good work. So I'm hopeful that we will be next in line for the Nevada Water Initiative. I'd like to thank Mr. Sullivan for the time that he's taken for Nye County and the Water District to educate me, and the time that he's allocated his staff to work with the Water District so that we can be somewhat participatory and at least sit at the table with them is greatly appreciated. And Adam, if you're listening, thank you, sir, very much. I appreciate your partnership.
And I'd like a letter to go to Mr. Sullivan stating all of that.
Yes,
from
ma'am.
the
I will
chair,
make that happen.
if you would please, thank you.
If you have any questions about the Nevada Water Initiative or my field trip up to Current, feel free to fire away.
Mr. Miller, this is your territory.
Yeah, I was at the meeting as well, and it was fascinating. These guys did a great job. Just looking back through the stuff, when I got done with the meeting, I went and researched their projects more, and I'm like, Dan, this is going to be a game changer going forward for 162 and all the basins, I think.
Yes, I agree. It's a beautiful, beautiful area up there. You're very lucky, Mr. Miller. Any questions from the board members?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Are these at least the same department that says Desert Research Institute worked on this? Is that the same department at Desert Research Institute that we're having refine our model?
Affirmative.
Yes.
Is it the same person?
It's the same team. DRI is a very big outfit.
I know.
Yeah, they're the smartest people in the world as far as I'm concerned. And it's not the same team, but they know each other. So Susie knows Peter. They know one another, but it's a different team that's working on the initiative.
Okay, and I must have missed it when I looked through this. Is there somewhere in here, you can tell me what page, where they actually say what the sustainable yield is?
Well, they're only a year and a half in to the 3-year process of evaluation. So this is like a halfway mark, and they have not completed their evaluation. So they have not announced the change in yield in that basin, if there will be one made.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Right, thank you. We'll move on to item 20.
Item number 20, supporting reports. Madam Vice Chair, at this time, Ms. Strickland is not with us. Mr. Klinke has delivered what he had, and I have no additional supporting reports at this time.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 21 for possible action. Discussion and deliberation to set the time, date, and location of the next to set the location of the next Water District Governing Board meeting for Tuesday, April 8, 2025 at 10 a.m. at the Pahrump Commissioners' Chambers. I just remind you all that it is possible. I have scheduled this date for this room at this time. There are a lot of moving parts going on, and I'm in discussion with finance. It is possible that this could be moved to a later meeting, or they may go behind us. We could possibly reschedule to April 9 or 10. I will keep you abreast. As soon as I know something, you will know immediately. But I think that we can move forward with an action item to approve the April 8th meeting. Subject to change. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't bring my calendar with me. This is a normal,
Second Tuesday.
yeah, okay, thank you.
I motion to approve the April 8th meeting date.
I'll second the motion.
Mr.
Aye.
Miller, thank you. Mr. Holden,
Aye.
Mr. Jackson,
Aye.
Mr. Locke,
Aye.
Mrs. Williams, aye. Thank you.
The item passes 5-0 with one missing.
Item 22.
General public comment second, up to 3-minute time limit per person on matters not listed on the agenda. Action will not be taken on matters considered during this period. If anyone has any comments, please approach the dais and give your name and spell the last.
Mr. Miller, is there anyone in Tunapā?
There is none.
Thank you. And is there anyone in Pahrump that would like to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment.
Item number 23, board comments. This item may include announcements or topics proposed for future workshops and agendas.
Mr. Miller, do you have anything?
None.
Mr. Holden?
No.
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Locke?
No.
And Mrs. Williams has nothing at this time. But Godspeed with our chair and his spouse. And thank you so much.
Item number 24 is adjournment.
I will hereby adjourn the meeting.
Thank you for the meeting, everybody. Have a great day.
12, 19, and 30. Thank you.